Welcome, guys. This is your host, Hans. We have Dean Kotler here, who is, let's say, in the age of retirement, but he feels like, he's at the age of 20s. He's super excited about his work and stuff. Um, and there's a bunch of things I can tell you about him. He has spent his career in the car business, going from working from the lower level of position to starting his own dealership, and he has also worked as a general manager in multiple car companies and going it from there to starting his own dealership. And then he has also seen phases where his dealership has to close and he has to take his business to back to zero. And then at that age, he was at the age of 59 when all of this happened with him. But then too, he took his courage and started something new, and now he's working with mid-sized companies ranging from 5 million to 40 million dollars per year, and he's helping them, what he calls as chief people officer. And he helped inside those companies, go inside those companies, work and understand first inside the business needs, work with the people inside there, and help them with self leadership, empathy, who matters, why they matter, and help the company achieve their goals. So welcome, Dean. I would ask you to tell a bit about you to the audience here. So yeah, the show is all yours.
Okay, thanks, Hans. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be here. And if there's anything that I can help you with or do anything for people, that's what I'm all about. I realize that helping people get from point A to point B is difficult for all of us on our own. And if we have someone that either the cheerleader or somebody that can kind of push us over the edge, where we can get there sooner.
Yeah, that's true. So, Dean, give the audience a bit about your childhood life. How it has been. Where have you born and bought, and you spend your early young age, and then yeah, give it a bit about that.
Yeah, so I was not in a position to be able to go to college. So at that point, I decided, you know what? You've got to learn on your own. You've got to get out there. And if you want to, you can, you can have your own diploma, degree, or whatever it is, just by picking the right things to learn, fill your head with the right information, the right knowledge, have the right mentors, and you can do something. So I started right out of the chute, delivering newspapers. Okay, 13 years old. Actually, before that, it was working on tobacco, which is something that we don't do any longer. Then it was working on cars. That was a passion of mine. Working on cars. Started off being a mechanic, and my boss realized that I not only had mechanical ability, but I also had ability to work with people and to kind of inspire people to do their job. And I noticed that working for family companies, they can you can have a little bit of toxicity there. You can have people that are kind of complaining all the time, and you want to take those people aside and say, hey, you know what? You got a job. If you don't like it, do something about it. Go somewhere else, whatever. And so this is the type of thing of growing people, helping them get ahead. So I went from one company. I was there for 23 years. It was an auto body service company, and that's all I did was, so they had no product. Their product was service, and so that's where I learned customer service, and
Uh-huh.
got to know the customers, realize what their needs were, handling complaints, realizing how the complaints got there to begin with, what we had to do internally to fix that, and on and on. And from there, I was lured to another company, a larger family business, was an automotive dealership, General Motors, and it was also local. And next thing you know, I was body shop manager. Then I was the service director, and all of a sudden, I was the general manager. So I had 70 people to work with to really hone my leadership skills, and we got along great. And the company just took off. And again, it was a good situation, but I still wanted to have my own business because there were some decisions that were being made by the owner that I just wasn't quite lined up with. It just didn't quite fit me, not so much ethically, but it just didn't quite fit what I really wanted to do. So I had the opportunity with the owner to open up this Suzuki dealership.
Mm-hmm.
It was it was not the opportune time because I just wasn't financially ready myself, so I had to rely on other people for money. And
Yep.
this is where I met the wolf in sheep's clothing. He he was the con man of con mans. I never saw it, never thought about it. He was just had a velvet tongue. It was perfect, and
Uh-huh.
to to rely on him as my financial person was my downfall. I mean, all of the paperwork, all of the statements that he presented to the banks and everybody to make a dealership happen. He was worth over $20 million, and it was just all air. And just on in one day, it was I can remember the day, September 6th, 2009, and he said, "Dean, I know I've told you I'll have your back, but you know what? I have nothing." And I just went, "What?" And 30 days later, I had nothing.
Hmm.
Gone.
Tell us about this journey where you went from leaving your job because it's the most important decision at that point of time of your age, because you have given basically your whole life coming to that position. How hard was that decision from moving from a general manager position to opening your business? Then take us from there, how much effort it took you to get everything in place, and what was going on inside your mind. Then coming to know about this person who was your finance person, who was supposed to finance everything, and into the partnership came to be a con man, and you were back to zero, I will say. At that point of time it feels like you're back to zero. How take us through that journey.
Okay, so running a dealership became basically second nature. I knew all the ins and outs. I knew what it had to be. So the transition from running one and then owning one and becoming the dealer was was easy. There was paperwork and there were hoops, like that. But it was a very exciting time because it was something that was a dream coming true.
Yeah.
And that first year, I mean, within 6 months, we were the number one Suzuki dealer in New England. I mean, it just bang, and it was. I mean, we were rocking and rolling. So
Yeah.
anything to blindside me was just not even in the car. I mean, it was the last thing on my mind.
Yep.
Um, my partner he was a good salesperson. He treated everybody right. Everything was great. Um,
Uh-huh.
I don't know how much other more to tell you other than everything was going good. And the irony of the whole thing was in 2008 when the we started the recession, the Great Recession, where the banks failed and everything went belly up. People
Mm-hmm.
thought that I was a victim of that, as opposed to being a victim of this crazy con artist that was part of me. Because if he was truthful and had what he had, we would still be in business today.
Yeah, 100%.
So the
So
so the excuse that everyone thought was, well, it's because of the recession. They just went out of business, and that's what happened. I mean, how many thousands of businesses went out in 2009, 2010? So
yeah, so now you have got a big this lesson of working with a partner. uh, Give us a one advice who are for the entrepreneurs out there who are looking to connect with a partner and do business together. What would be your checklist, I will say, to keep in mind whenever they are planning to connect with a person, do business with them, all those things? What would you tell yourself if now you were at that same point of time?
right. So being very trustworthy throughout my
Mm-hmm.
entire life,
Mm-hmm.
and then having this situation immediately was this the biggest mistake anybody could do is have a partner. But then I mean, I realized immediately after having that thought that no, partners are great because two heads are better than one. Um, you have to vet somebody in the right manner and in the right way. You've got to listen to your head, your heart, your gut, and you've got to ask the right questions. Um, Most importantly, when that person has a financial stake in your company. So don't shy away from having a partner, but
Mm-hmm.
you need to be vigilant. You need to use your common sense, and you need to become aware of if I do this, this will happen, and that's with anything in life. You kind of got to look at it and say, okay, if this happens, or if this is, then this is what happens.
Yeah.
But life is really common sense, and we need that right now.
Yeah, Dean. So you were telling me about, you know, take us through the journey of how it went when you came to know about this con person, right? And then you were like, now you are back to zero. Then from there, you told me you have your spiritual rebirth. You came to know more about you. You tried to know more about all the other places you can work on, and then how things are going right now. What are you doing right now? Take us through that journey.
Okay, so it's been a decade, so it's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we go dial it back to 2009, where everything hit the fan and it's all over, now there's a period of, uh, you know, shame on you, pity parties, poor little old me. It's inevitable that you have at least, it'd be nice to only have a couple of days of that. But the second part of that that's been most difficult is forgiving myself for getting into this situation to begin with. I mean, what were you thinking and how could you possibly have gotten through that? And the only
Yeah.
thing I can say is, hey, you know what? If it happened to me, it can happen to you. Obviously, I mean, I consider myself halfway intelligent. I, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal because if you don't forgive and if you don't, it's very difficult to move on because you start to get this, well, I'm really must be pretty worthless and or this, I can't do this, I can't do that, from going from a standpoint of being super strong and knowing that hey, I'm invincible, I can do anything, to all of a sudden, you know you're just you're dust and ashes, man. Get over it. So that's a whole new period of becoming aware, asking the hard questions that of who am I, why am I here, blah blah blah, and coming up with answers. And nobody can teach you those things. So those are life lessons that you learn, and you need to pick yourself up and say, okay, this happened. Why did it happen? What did I learn? Now what do
Mhm.
I do? So
So
from that,
from there, from there you have to go back, figure out, what is your, next whole life gonna be. You have to start back from one, right? How was
yeah,
it?
yeah. So at that age, even if you feel young, you go out into the world, and people will look at you and say, "Hey, you look like you should be retired, or you're older, and I don't know what you have to offer." So there's a lot of stereotyping and a lot of things like this guy um, can't help me, and so many people will look at you and only want you if you can help them,
Yeah.
and but until you get to that point where you say, "Hey, I can help you. I can solve problems. I've done this. I have reached the pinnacle of what I consider personal success and business success. But you can't just tell people that in a quick conversation. I mean, that's something that you have to now reprove yourself. And so it's tough, you know. And I think one of the things that wears on you the most is that if you don't have the financial resources you're
Yeah.
in, you can be mentally strong and physically healthy, but you need to have health, wealth, and happiness.
Yeah.
So the last 10 years has been my journey from going from completely broken, completely devastated, completely screwed up to
Mhm.
health, wealth, happiness. And you realize as you get older also that your priorities change. Making money is not necessarily the most important thing in your life once you're older because you should already have it. But what is becoming important is finding peace, finding a harmonious way of life where you can connect
Mhm.
with people and be with people and do add value to everyone that you see, increase them.
Yeah.
So that's
Very
the
true.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah. And tell the audience about what you are working on right now, how you are helping, these mid-sized companies sitting around 10 $5 10 million to $40 million a year, how you're helping them achieve their goals, helping them, basically whatever they are looking for, you just go in, work with the same people who are working inside the company, while this time they are more productive, they're achieving more, how you do it. Yeah.
Trust. You got to gain people's trust. You got to get in there. You got to be able to. First of all, you got to talk with the owners, and you got to make sure that everybody's on board. You can't. It's got to change from the top down as opposed from the bottom up, because you're going to hit a brick wall as you reach the top. Because if the owners aren't on board and the people
Yeah.
in charge aren't on board, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So and people don't like to take advice. If I would rather give advice only when I'm asked, because then the person is going to listen. You know, you can't. Is that my mic or your mic? You can't tell people what to do. People have to buy into whatever it is that you're doing. So you've got
Yeah.
to paint the picture, and it starts with the culture of the company. Starts
Uh-huh.
with what their values are,
Uh-huh.
and each person has to come into alignment. You work for this guy or these people, and are your values the same as their values? And how can we make adjustments? Um, what is it that you're looking for? This company is looking for you to help them, but they also are looking to help you. I think people like Richard Branson has a perfect attitude toward that. Is really making their people so happy that they just don't want to leave. At the same time,
Yes.
they are producing, they're firing on all cylinders, and everything works. So it's something it evolves, it takes time, and then it has to stick. But it only sticks if everyone out there gets it. So when I enter a company, if I get them and they get me, then we can move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are the type of, for the businesses, entrepreneurs looking, to this thing, what, like, how can you help them if they are just listening to you and they're facing some problems? What would be your pitch to them? Hey, if you're having these problems, just connect back with me and I think I can help you out. What should be the requirement by them which you can help them instantly? You get in within 3 months of you entering the company, these problems can be solved.
Right. So what keeps you up at night? What is it? What are some of the problems that you just have not been able to solve yourself? And if you know what those problems are, why haven't you taken the steps to
Hmm.
solve them? And
Yeah.
so an outside set of eyes is always a good situation. And all I need to do is go in and sit down and talk to each person one at a time, see
Yeah.
where their head is at. When I was in business, prior to the fall,
Yeah.
um, I would not just sit in my office. I would get out on the floor and I would find out, hey, John, what's going on? You don't seem like you're yourself today. Is everything good? Is something going on at home? How can I help? Because if this guy is sidetracked and he's thinking of is thinking about something else, guess what? He he's not helping the company. He's not making money for you. He's not producing. So
Yeah.
it's really not hard. It's again it's common sense. You work with people, and you make them feel like they belong. You make them feel like they're contributing, and you give them some autonomy to make a decision instead of having to be micromanaged. Micromanagement is like the death of any company.
Yeah. Now I can think of a lot of things I can do to improve a few of the things inside what I am doing here.
Hmm.
So yeah, those are very simple but
Yeah,
great nuggets, I will say, can
yeah,
be instantly applied to any person. It
yeah,
doesn't only have to do with businesses, but in
yeah,
the overall life as well. These are like simple but very golden nuggets.
yeah.
So I will ask you, what are the habits you have tried to follow throughout this period of time, which has helped you to go back again to your, that average or above average thing, which is like, even though you've gone through the downfalls, you again came back. What were the habits or the mindset which you followed, which has helped you at this level?
Right. So being a mindset coach was also something that I really delved into because really everything is mindset. You either have a fixed mindset or you have a growth mindset. And you have to maintain, so self-discipline is so huge. You have to monitor your thoughts. What have I been thinking about for the last 10 minutes? Why am I feeling so like disconnected? Okay, it's because of what I'm thinking about. So let's get on track here and get in the game, get off the bench and get into the game. And so it's self-talk that has to go from negative to positive. And you got to always be thinking, you know what? The best is yet to come, no matter what. Best is yet to come. And you see, I mean, you can say to yourself, yeah, right. Good luck with that. I said, no, you got to see it through. You got to hang in there, and it's like anything else. Winston Churchill, hey, if you're going through hell, keep going. It's just a matter of sticking with it. You don't give up. And Steve Jobs says, don't settle. Do what you got to do, and eventually you'll get to that plateau, and then you're going to climb the mountain and the next mountain, and you're going to get to another plateau.
Yeah.
But when I look at the leadership of some of these companies, you're when a management person or the boss is, no matter what, they're sending a message to their people. Everything they do is a message. They walk by you and don't even acknowledge you, and you're an employee. What's the message? Okay, so I mean, I was really hell bent on the 10-second, the 10-foot rule. If you're within 10 feet of somebody, you better smile or you better acknowledge them. You don't just walk by them just because you're having a bad day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't mean to get ramble on here.
So, Dean, what has been your hardest decision till the point here? You have gone through many more decisions, in your personal life as well, in your business life as well. But what would you say has been one of your hardest decision you have taken, and what was the what was your mindset at that point of time? How you have took it?
Yeah. So when you lose everything financially,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody is after you. Everybody wants their money. And it's not like hey, I'm ignoring you. It's just that, you know what? I don't have it. I can't pay it, but when I get it, you'll get it. And so being being broke is a drives you to do more, but being broke also puts you in a position where, what if I do this? How is it going to affect me financially? So, in other words, it's always a struggle of making a decision of what to do good and valuable, and what will the monetization of that look like. And as soon as there's enough money to pay the bills, then you think clearer, you act better, and things can go up from there. But as soon as you feel like you're just stuck, then that's when everything has to kick in and say, okay, what is it that's going to work? So finding out what works, what's going to work is the hardest decision.
Yeah. And what would you give as your inspiration, your motivation? You are at your, you know, on the top ages, on the top age, and you're still motivated to do the work. What inspires you? What motivates you to keep working and make things work while still make more money, help and help other people? What is your inspiration?
There's something inside of me, and there's something inside of you, something inside of everybody that keeps knocking at your door saying, hey, I don't know if you call it, if it's a calling, or if it's just, there's just some kind of desire that has to be fulfilled, and there's something inside that keeps, kind of nudging you, saying, hey, that's, first of all, you're not going to give up, and second of all, you know so I guess, because I never really thought, gave a lot of weight to the word hope, but I mean, even in all of the ancient scriptures, that's where it starts. Hope. As dark as things can be, if there's hope, then that's the beginning. And then hope becomes faith, believing. Faith is hope all grown up, ready to go. And so that's the road from, as long as there's hope, then there's life. And as long as
Yeah,
there's life, then you better live it. Like, remember Shawshank Redemption? And we could get busy living or get busy dying, one or the other.
yeah. So Dean, what would be, that's all I have. But for the people who want to connect with you, what would be the right place to connect with you? Like, do you have a website where people can just come and send you a mail, or do you have a LinkedIn? Just give, for the people out there who want to connect with you in the coming few days, give them your address, your digital address.
Sure. So, Coach Dean Kloter, even though I can be a coach or a mentor or a friend or whatever, CoachDeanKloter.com is my website. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. And when I get up in the morning, I say, hey, how can I help somebody today? How can I add value to somebody's life? Who needs a hand? Because we all need a hand, but we're really afraid to ask for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dean, for joining this podcast and helping, sharing your story, the roller coaster, of your all the years you have been through. It was lovely knowing more about your story, and it inspired me how you go from, because as an entrepreneur, you try to make all your way up, but no one thinks about this can happen. You can go back to zero, and then too you have to handle yourself, your emotion, your personal, professional life, and go from there, start back again from there. So this inspires me the most about you. Thank you so much, Dean. And
Thank you,
yeah,
Hans. Appreciate it.
thanks.
Thanks for listening. Thank you. Take care.